Hello, it's well and truly bramble season, and I hope some of you have been managing to get out and enjoy some. And today I'm going to show you how to propagate a new bramble plant from a sucker. So this is the base of my thornless bramble. The method I'm going to show you for propagating suckers would also work with a standard thorned bramble, but would be a little bit harder to handle. So as you can see, this is uncomfortably close to the fence. Now the reason that this happened is because I planted the bramble and then the fence had to be replaced, and when it was rebuilt, it was built slightly further over than the original had been, and that meant that where my bramble had a few inches of space between it and the fence initially, it now is like basically under the fence. Now I have no objection whatsoever to my neighbours getting some bramble shoots off my bush and enjoying them as well. However, I do want some of them to grow on my side because obviously I want to get some of my own crop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate a sucker, which is a new shoot coming up off the plant at a distance from the original, and I'm going to reposition it to around about here so that it's basically at the same distance that it originally was to the fence. So here you can see two suckers. Now these are new shoots that have grown up this year from the bramble, and they're about 2 meters distant to the original clump, and they've come up off underground roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig these out carefully, trying to leave as much healthy root around the base as I can, and I'm going to put one into a pot and keep it as a reserve, and I'm going to plant one of them, as I explained before, at the base of the original clump. Obviously this method would also work totally fine if you wanted to dig up a sucker and transplant it to a completely different location. So for example, if you have a friend who has brambles and you want to introduce one into your garden, this might be the method for you, to ask if you can have one of the suckers, because they do come up every year. Once a plant is well established, multiple suckers will probably be coming up every year. So to dig the suckers out, I'm going to use a fork because it will damage the roots less than a spade. I'm going to just see how tough this earth is here. I'll try and loosen them as gently as I can. How we're doing. Once I got it loose, I'm going to just sort of go down with my hands so I can try and get off a decent amount of root. Okay, so there's one. Not as much root as I would like, but hopefully that will be enough to get going, hopefully. Oh, a worm. There we go. That's evidence of good soil. Okay, so there we've got two suckers. So for the sucker that I'm going to grow on in a pot, I've got here three things. I've got some of the soil that it was growing in, just dug up, some general purpose compost, and some sharp sand. I'm going to mix them all up into the pot, and I'm going to tuck around these roots, and I'm going to bury the stalk up to the same level as it was in the ground. So about here where you can see that. Just out for a minute while I get the level right. and then I'll give that a good water. Okay, so now we're back at the site of the original plant, and I'm going to clear a bit more space just to give the sucker the maximum chance to take hold. Oh, there's a sycamore, we'll get rid of that. So these are strawberry plants that are just quite randomly growing here, and I'm going to dig these out and I'm going to put these into pots of their own so that they can be put somewhere more sensible. Alright, try and keep the roots of the plants you're digging up intact as much as possible as well. So now I've cleared the area, I'm going to dig myself a hole that's big enough to comfortably... Oh, another worm! Let's throw that away somewhere else before I chop it in half. So that it can comfortably accommodate the roots. What on earth is that? No idea. Now, I'm not going to use sharp sand here because I think it'll drain well enough without. Pots, you have to be a bit more careful. But what I am going to do, just to give the sucker a bit of a boost, is I'm going to use a little bit of general purpose compost again. I'll chop that into the hole, and then I'm going to try and place this in nicely, and I'm going to cover it again up to the same, roughly to the same height as it was originally in the ground. And then I'm going to tread it in a bit. Ooh, there's a bramble falling off. Tread it in and give it a good water. Okay, so now I've got the sucker established where I want it. That should, with any luck, go on and grow and produce fruit next year. So a couple of things to note. Firstly, you should be able to use this method for propagating raspberries to either break up clumps which have become too big or to move raspberries to new areas and start an entirely new patch. And the second thing to note, that with raspberries and with brambles, they fruit on the previous year's growth. So this sucker has grown this year and will continue to grow a bit through the winter as well and into the spring, and then it will fruit on that next year. Suckers that you find growing up next year will fruit the year after that. So they're very much a perennial plant once you've got them in place. So I would highly recommend them, and enjoy the rest of the brambles.